Miro Heiskanen is crucial to the Dallas Stars Stanley Cup chances in 2025. Let's discuss why. Alongside my DLLS Stars podcast buddy, I'm Owen Newkirk. He's Craig Ludwig. Let's talk about it. Luds, we all know as Dallas Stars fans, broadcasters, anywhere you fall on the spectrum of covering or watching this team, how good Miro Heiskanen is. He is an elite defenseman. He was injured by Mark Stone on January 28th. He, at that point, had played 50 games in the season, was averaging 25 minutes and 10 seconds of ice time per night, which was the sixth most in the NHL amongst defensemen at that time. Whenever you lose a guy that can eat up that many minutes, it is a negative effect on the team. We're going to talk about a couple positives as well, but they really miss not having Miro Heiskanen on the ice.
Yeah, minute muncher, right? That's the biggest thing about him, and generally flawless in the game. You talk about defensemen, how they defend and how they shut things down. I think of Miro being the kind of defenseman, it's a luxury for him because he defends with the puck, especially when he's in the D zone. There's a lot of plays that we talk about it all the time. Miro's the guy that picks up the puck and then he can skate it out of the zone where you're typically telling your defenseman, make the first outlet pass. And by Miro skating pucks out of the defensive zone, and then he gets entering the the neutral zone, it breaks down coverage because now he's beaten one guy with his legs, and now he's starting to move through the neutral zone, and somebody has to come to cover him. And that's where he's so good at recognizing where they came from, and then he either uses the outlet pass there, or he can continue to move on. But again, when Miro he isn't a kind of guy that he's going to punish people in front of the net. He's not going to punish people in front. He reminds me a little bit about Sergei Zubov, the way that Zuby defended. I mean, he was always in the right position, strong with his hands, but just knew where to be. So you kind of stop their progress just by your own position.
So because Miro helps with possession so much, it shouldn't surprise you when you look at something that is kind of a simple metric about puck possession for a team, which is shot attempt differential. How many times you create a shot attempt in a game versus how many times you give up a shot attempt for the other team. The basic premise is just like with shots on goal, but it's just attempts because it could be blocked or could be missed the net. The more of those you have, the more you have the puck. Pretty simple, basic analytical concept. When Miro was on the Stars in the lineup over the course of the first 50 games of the year, they were plus 146. That was eighth best in the NHL in shot attempt differential. Since he's been hurt, they rank 29th with a minus 117. Is that all down to his ability to be the one-man breakout you're talking about with his skating and his movement through defensive through neutral zone?
Yeah, I don't understand all the analytics all the time, but it obviously says something. But what he's able to do, like I said, he just breaks things down because of his legs and his puck skills, keeping the puck. But he makes the outlet passes. He makes them look easy. And I've always said is I think that the Thomas Harley guy who's been pretty good since he's been out.
Pretty good.
Once Thomas gets below the top of the circles in the offensive zone, more things happen offensively. With Miro, he's more of a puck distributor, and I think what happens with him sometimes is you'll see when Miro does get below the top of below the bottoms of the circles, especially there, pucks don't go to the net. He kind of continues to go around the back of the net because he's looking to distribute it to somebody else. Where Harley's a shooter and things like that, and so his legs. I had a general manager tell me this, and they don't get him in trouble, but there are people that have that skating ability. They can get you into as much trouble as they can get you out of. Not with Miro from a standpoint of trouble, but maybe sometimes because of his skating ability, it takes him past a high-quality danger opportunity, and that's when he dishes it off for other people.
So you talked about getting out of the defensive zone and getting forward with puck, creating mismatched coverage because now after beating a guy, another player maybe steps up and now leaves a void for another teammate or creates a space, right? As soon as it's sort of a domino effect. But as much as you always sometimes laugh and say, forget about the numbers, I'll look at my eye test and look at the video. You actually did look at some numbers as far as how he rates Miro in the league at various zones. What does that mean as you give him these numbers?
Well, the possession time is what it is, and they base it off of the rest of the league and the rest of the players in the league. And so when you talk about 5-on-5 play, in the D zone, he's 65% of the time is what he spends in, and that's 65% of the percentile. So it's in that neighborhood. It's almost middle of the road, a little bit above middle of the road. The time that he spends in the defensive zone, which is
so above 50% in that regard is a good thing.
That's a
right?
good thing.
It's higher. It means he's spending less time because he's one of the above average players in the league at time spent in the D zone.
Exactly,
Okay.
which is also, I mean, but I would think it'd be higher than 65 as a matter of fact.
I would too. Yep.
But where he has the biggest numbers, he's in the 99 percentile. Not many players are up in that category, is in the neutral zone.
Mm-hmm.
So what it tells you is he gets pucks out of the offensive zone quickly with his feet, and then he transitions and he's in the neutral zone. Same thing defensively. He gets into the zone, the neutral zone. He turns quickly out of the offensive zone, gets to the pucks. Once they get into the D zone, he turns quick, carries them out. So he spends a lot of time in the middle of the ice there. So again, it's the ability to hang on to the puck and be in the right areas of the ice and be able to set people up with that. I don't want to say perfect, but they're pinpoint passes that he can recognize when to make the pass. I think he can also recognize when he is moving at a rate of speed that's the same or a little bit quicker. He doesn't have to move the puck. He can say, come on, catch up to me, but he always tries to get it off of his stick, in my opinion, before he gets to that offensive blue line, because he's the kind of guy that says, this is what you guys do. Let's go ahead and do it.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the rate of speed, because one of the reasons why Miro is so crucial to the Stars' ability to go deep in the playoffs is he is an elite skater and defender, especially with his feet and with his stick. And he is one of the few players in the league, let alone on the Stars roster, that can go toe-to-toe with the elite superstars on other teams. And with the Stars maybe looking at facing Colorado in the first round, it looks more than likely, but not necessarily a given, having to try to nullify Nathan MacKinnon. There aren't many guys in the league that can go toe-to-toe with MacKinnon when he has the puck and he's going at his high speed that he likes to operate at. Miro's one of those guys.
I remember 2 years ago, and it wasn't MacKinnon, it was the other guy. It was that McDavid guy.
Yeah, he's pretty good too.
Miro was in the neutral zone. He was somewhere near center ice. McDavid had picked the puck up at his own blue line, and he was heading, towards the offensive zone. Miro was stopped, and he took 2 strides and backwards, and he had closed the gap at the offensive blue line for McDavid, his defensive blue line. And I thought, you've got to be kidding me, because you've got one of the fastest skaters on the planet, and he was able to take that time and space away. And every time that you see him play against those guys, he's on the ice. And you will all of a sudden start to watch their games, and they distribute the puck a little bit sooner than they probably would like to, because they know that he can close the gap on them. And it's not because he's a physical presence. It's because he just takes plays away from them. Good stick, obviously, and great feet.
Now, one of the things that we talk about with Miro is, we mentioned earlier about his ability to be a minute muncher. So it's not just what he does on the ice, it's how he slots down the rest of the Stars' blue line to maybe their better spots as far as how many minutes they have to play, who they play with, and who they play against. So, Luds, being able to have that sort of ripple or trickle-down effect of, if Miro comes back and they play him on his left side, then you have Heiskanen, you have Harley, you have Lindell. That means you have Leon Bichsel as your extra on the left. And then if that was the case, then some method of Ceci, Lyubushkin, and Dumba with Brendan Smith as the other, he could play either side. If you play Miro on his right, which I think we both agree is probably the most likelihood, because the Stars seem to want to keep Bichsel in the lineup, and he brings that physical element, does Bichsel. If Miro's on the right, then it's Heiskanen, Lyubushkin, or Ceci or Dumba. 2 of those 3 players below Miro on the right, and that allows Lindell, Harley, and Bichsel to be on the left, with the odd man out of those 3 righties, Lyubushkin, Ceci, or Dumba, and Smith as your extras. That's a really, really deep group. And when Miro's in there, that's a lot deeper than when, as of right now, he's not.
It's deep in the sense that Miro can play all those minutes. And then when you mentioned Harley, we're seeing that now. Harley's okay playing all those minutes. So now, and Essa plays the dominant minutes, I think, against top lines also, and it's PK and things like that. So it really gives you 3 defensemen that defend in different ways. I mean, Harley is a little bit of a bit of Lindell and also of Miro, and then those other 2 guys have their own styles. So now whoever you decide to play them with, you feel a little bit more comfortable because you have one of those three guys out there all the time, especially you have Essa out there and you have Miro out there all the time. And again, I don't want to exclude Thomas Harley because he's grown over this time. Was a blessing probably in disguise, kind of in a weird way for Harley to be able to see what he can do when he needed to step up, and especially on the power play. We've seen different results on the power play, and that's because of his shot and things like that. So it's a good situation. It's tough for the other three guys on the right-hand side because somebody's going to have to come out.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Harley because it's not all doom and gloom of the Stars will be significantly worse in the playoffs if they don't have Miro Heiskanen, because Harley has helped. And to give you a quick graphic idea of what we're talking about, take a look at Thomas Harley's numbers, his stats since Miro was injured. And so in 21 games, he has 24 points, over a point a game, 8 goals. He obviously has that 1.14 points per game. That's huge. And those minutes, that was Miro's minutes. He was 25-10, Harley playing at 25-54. Take those numbers. How do they rate over that span in the NHL amongst other NHL defensemen? Only Cale Makar has a higher point total, goals, assists, points per game, and he's tied with Makar, Harley, in power play points and time on ice. There's a couple other guys that have played more, but that is elite numbers in that span for Thomas Harley. So that helps Lutz.
Well, there's another number that's not on there that it's going to grow, and that's his salary. I'm just saying is he should be thanking Miro for taking a little time off because it's given him the opportunity to show what he can do and how you can lean on that guy just like you lean on, like I said, Essa and Miro. So, but Thomas Harley, to me, is the guy, I've said this from the beginning, is that he has the best offensive instincts once he gets below the tops of the circles in the offensive zone. And he's made a difference on the power play because he doesn't have to be the guy that wants to share the puck so much. And I think that carries over to the other 4 guys that are out there because they know if he's never met a lane that he didn't like, the shooting lane I'm talking about. Pucks get to the net. And it really takes a lot of indecision away from the 4 guys that play with him because they know this is direct. Like he may make 1 or 2 passes, it's going to the net when he sees it. So what happens then is they all start to lean towards the net. Where a little different with Heiskanen out there because he's more of a distributor. He gets at the top and he moves it here, here, and here. And so guys are standing around, I feel, and which is nothing wrong with that. But I just wonder when Miro comes back, will there be a more of a shoot mentality seeing what Harley is?
And will he actually try to embrace that a little bit? The last thing here, Luds, on our discussion of Miro's vital importance to the Stars is playoff experience, and you cannot undervalue that enough at all. It's a huge thing. In the last 5 seasons, the Stars have made the playoffs 4 times. Miro has been to the Stanley Cup final in the 2020 bubble and back-to-back Western Conference finals in 23 and 24. In his career, 85 Stanley Cup playoff games, he has 61 points and averaging 26-46 of time on ice. That says a lot about why the Stars' playoff hopes can be measurably better with Miro in the lineup versus without.
For me, one of the most impressive things when you mention his time on ice is when you see him in the 3rd period and he's got a longer shift out there and he's already got 20-plus minutes in there. He doesn't look tired at all. And that's the luxury of having, and I think Lindell is like that and Harley's like that. They have 3 guys that can spend time on the ice, and when they're your top 3 guys, what a luxury for, Elaine to have as the D coach to say, we can roll these 3 guys. I can keep them out there. Essa, he picks up pretty much 2 minutes of a penalty kill. And then Miro and Thomas kind of share what's on the PP along with whatever they do 5-on-5. So it makes such a huge difference having him back so that you can allocate the minutes so you're not wearing out 1 or 2 defensemen. Now you got 3 guys that you can ride.
Another thing, and we'll just end with this. Because Harley has embraced and played so well as the lead quarterback on the power play, would they maybe put Miro back on the penalty kill for a few minutes because they're not trying to save him for that top power play in his mind?
I don't know what they'll do, but I think the good thing about it is you can roll either one of those 2 guys out there. Like right now, it seems like when there's 25, 30, 40 seconds right now, it's been Dumba that
Yep.
picks up those minutes. Well, now you're going to have two guys that are elite guys out there. And can they share it? Can they share like a minute 10, one of them? And then you can get different groups out there, because as penalty killers, it's nice to know who you have coming out there, how they play, where they set up, and what their characteristics and, you know, what their tendencies are. Now, all of a sudden, you get two guys that come out there, and especially two different groups that hopefully would have different looks. You got to kill differently.
Well, there's no doubt that Miro Heiskanen is a massive part of this Dallas Stars lineup. Can he get healthy in time to play a factor in the Stars' first-round playoff series? Do they have to try to win a round without him? Only time will tell, as we are currently in a holding pattern to see how his recovery from knee surgery goes in the next weeks and maybe month or so. Thanks for watching.